Suzanne Morphew would have been 51 on the 30th of April. I'll be 51 on the 30th of April. And Suzanne and I could not be more different. Suzanne's followed a path in life where she did so many things that I never achieved, I think you could say. She created her own nuclear family, and she created homes for that family. She supported her husband, who had supported her when she was young and very ill. And she lived within this world of being a mother and a wife, whilst trying to be a sister and a daughter and a friend. And she got to a stage in her life where she knew she couldn't go on a minute longer just with the status quo. She was coming up to 50 when she disappeared. She was 49. She just had a 49th birthday. And it's a time when a lot of women and men are assessing their life and what time they have left and how they want to live it, how they want to feel. And we know Suzanne has worked hard at being a wife and mother, and that she values family. She values being a wife and that role, as well as the role of motherhood, and probably deeply loved Macy and Mallory to an unfathomable depth, right? And you know, women like that, you know, there are people in this world who burn through families. They really do. They leave family after family, right? Without conscience burning, you know, in them. And this wasn't Suzanne, but Suzanne just needed something else. And sometimes you create that catalyst, okay? And something 10 years earlier, Suzanne may never ever have anticipated or have been able to imagine doing might have been to have an affair, not just an emotional affair either, a physical affair with another person whilst married. But, you know, Suzanne had had enough. And this was her life. And no person, you know, this is just, you know, with missing people, it's just that moment of, it's like spontaneous combustion, except it didn't happen without, you know, something in the physical realm here, creating that sliding door moment where a person, a human being with history, with connections, with goals, with dreams, with ambitions, with feelings, with you know, suddenly they are removed from this universe, from this dimension. They do not exist in this dimension any longer. And then those that are still here, to not have a memorial. Suzanne would have wanted to be on consecrated ground. We know this. We know this. Let's just say Suzanne didn't get a chance to heal from cancer that she was fighting again. What might Suzanne have expressed to family and maybe friends about what would happen to her after death, after she has left the suffering, after she's left the insanity of what it is to be human? We are human just for such a short flash. If there is any going on, we're untethered. And it's hard to imagine and maybe accept that you're not going to feel tethered, that it's not that things are meaningless. You need to find the meaning here and now, because when you're untethered from this body, that's, anyway, Suzanne would probably have made her wishes known, that she wants to be perhaps in a specific cemetery in Indiana. I'm not sure of the denomination of Suzanne's faith. I'm not sure if they are buriers like the Catholics, for example, if they are cremators, but she would have given her wishes, maybe to her daughters, maybe to Barry, that she would like to be in a certain cemetery. She may even have a grave paid for. We don't know this, right? And the Mormon family aren't telling us these things. They're not passionately coming out and saying, what a travesty that we can't find Suzanne. This is my mission. I nearly can't think about anything else. I don't give a flying hoot about Barry. I want his daughters to know we're there for them, and what we're going to do to show our love and our support. We're going to find Suzanne. And after Andrew went, he never returned to that mountain. Summer's coming, spring's coming in the mountains of Colorado. So snow will be melting, okay? But this is what Suzanne would have wanted, in a place for people to go and honor her and remember her, and just to know that that's where her bones were. When you're dead, you can't, you're not thinking about these things, okay? But the tragedy and the sick, sad humanity of it all is that, the ones left behind, we do think about these things. We need it. And this is why, hashtag #findsuzanne is at it's on every single video I've ever made about her. Because not just for the reasons of being able to bring somebody to justice, but just because it's our level of consciousness as human beings. We're not comfortable with not having someone's remains, and it's, think about little Summer Wells, for example, just probably discarded by her parents. That's just my opinion. Mother, father, someone just being able to abandon her because she was trash to them. Goodbye, So anyway, why am I talking about this? Well, you probably know. I woke up to a live. Just Kay is talking about Barry Morphew's case. It's been dismissed without prejudice. What without prejudice means is that when Suzanne is found, let's say, if then there can be a case that would be made beyond reasonable doubt to be able to bring Barry back into court, that means that they can charge him. I think the defense would have preferred that this trial go ahead, because clearly he would have been acquitted or found not guilty. And then that's that, right? Finito. as it is, it's left open for Barry to be able to be charged and taken to court again for the murder of Suzanne, okay? And I think that the prosecution have been angling for this for months and months and months. This is what they have wanted. They haven't wanted to go to court. They've just been thinking, oh, we're going to wriggle out on this one because they know they're screwed. But, you know, the buck stops with, ta-da, you know, buck stops with style over substance, Linda Stanley. Sure, she looked badass in her leather jacket. Hey, but, you know, I think that's style. Does she wear it on a motorcycle? You know, this is road mark right here. And I know people are going to have a lot to say about what Melinda said. You know, we just need it resolved that Suzanne's dead. And it might make you really angry at first to hear her say that. You wanted to come out and say, we've just got to find my sister's body. And, you know, perhaps she just doesn't want to be sued by Barry. I don't know. Barry will get his $500,000 back, and state of Colorado citizens, now is the time for all the letter writers, okay? You can write to Linda Stanley and tell her how appalled you are that she has disrespected her status, her office, and her citizens, that she's there to protect and serve. She, you know, the thing with civil servants and things like this, or, you know, with public servants and people in public offices, you know, who cares about them reaching KPIs, for example? They don't have to perform to get paid. They don't have to perform to get perks. Sometimes they just get shuffled sideways or the chance to resign. Sometimes they get promotions. Unlike others who have to attain goals, reach bare minimums, and hopefully exceed targets, they are held to account. They have to follow procedures, follow laws. They have to make a profit for their business. They are accountable, right? And people like Linda Stanley, you know, and you know, there are other people, there are law enforcement officers anywhere who, you know, hey, it doesn't matter if they solve a case or not. They've got a paycheck. They've got a pension, right? And they take as many opportunities as they can to make money out of their position, to make connections, do deals. Nepotism exists and mateship exists, you know. And this is so disappointing whenever it's just so blatantly in your face, you know, people taking the piss. Linda Stanley's ambition has outweighed her talent to, you know, assess and act in a manner that is in line with the status of the role that she obtained. Women would love to be proud of women in these positions. But just don't go making yourself look like a damn fool all the time, because it's not a good look. You know, women, of course, are just as capable, if not more sometimes, as men of achieving and maintaining high status roles and being very, very successful. You know, they are the CEOs of large banking corporations, for example. They are the chief administrators of busy hospitals. They are politicians in the top job. We've had female prime ministers in Australia and New Zealand, for example. And often being a woman, whilst it gives a lot of strengths, it can actually halt people's careers. It can derail them, because women wanting children or having children, just the fact of getting pregnant and growing a baby, giving birth, nurturing a child, you know, this often just cuts a fire break right through their career, okay? And that's what happens, and they're judged if they're not seen to be doing motherhood in the way that other people should, just so that they can have their career, etc., etc., etc. Anyway, I didn't want to, that's not what I'm here to talk about. Do I think that the prosecution knows where Suzanne is? Well, did they know before this snowfall? Why weren't they there? You know, if Barry has murdered Suzanne, and if he's taken away her body, there are so many places where it could be. We know that entire Kaufman Ridge, right, which sort of kind of goes from Denver all the way up through west and well into Colorado. It's part of, it's some of the most wild landscape in the world. You know, it's craggy. There are deep ravines. There are so many places that are really inaccessible. There's a lot of boots on the ground people. Where is she? Where is she? Looking here, looking there. But they're so convinced that Suzanne was buried under a tree, and we talk about the 3 trees. And in a lot of comment sections and on my videos, I've talked about, well, you know, it's not rocket science, because you're going to see which tree is behaving differently, which is surviving. And drones can do this. And let me ask you this. I mean, I feel that Linda Stanley has made zero effort at actually finding Suzanne. I don't know, it's, you know, we need to know all the places that they've looked that they haven't found her, right? I'm not talking about, you know, they've gone through the house like with a fine-tooth comb. They had warrants for that, and so they had possession of the home actually at one point for 11 days. And I think that might have been the time when they brought in, you know, in just quite a wanky move, 6 female FBI agents, you know, coming in to freak Barry out, arrest him, you know, to make this show of women, you know, arresting the wife murderer. But, you know, I don't really know what they've done to search. You know, there are people out there looking for Suzanne that are not law enforcement. I don't know how many of them are family of Suzanne. I'd like to think that as a daughter, I would have been arranging searches. I don't know how much youth confusion and psychological warfare plays into how Mallory and Macy have acted, so I can't comment on that, because I can only imagine they are traumatized and traumatized for life. I feel like I would have been spending my time looking for my mother, but I don't know why they haven't, or indeed what they've done if they have done it. But I know that Linda Stanley doesn't seem to have been looking for Suzanne, and this was obviously imperative, not just because it's a woman missing out of her county, Chaffey County, and she should be concerned about any missing person in her state, in her jurisdiction. I don't think, people are going to really put the girls on blast. Oh, look at them smiling. I don't see, the smile's not reaching their eyes. They're smiling, they're beautiful smiles. They're absolutely gorgeous girls. But you can see the toll, Mallory is, and we shouldn't talk about women's bodies, but I'm just going to say this. Mallory is extremely thin now. Mallory was always a little bit smaller than Macy, but they kind of looked the same, just the picture of health at just the right weight, just at their natural body weight. And Macy has put on an extraordinary amount of weight. Maybe as much as Mallory's lost, maybe more than Mallory's lost, but you've got, one that might not be eating and is just burning up that energy through stress, and another that might be stress eating and really in such a depression that she can't do things that will help her, and help her body. I don't know. That's just what I observed. They didn't look like those healthful, fresh, sporty girls that they were 2 years ago, okay? Anyway. Yes. Now, yeah, you can hear the squeaks of the true Barry lovers now, can't you? In celebration, all their, all the snarkiness, all the unnecessary self-congratulation. We don't know what happened to Suzanne. We know that she's very likely dead and has been since the 10th of May 2020. And we don't have any evidence that helps us believe without reason, beyond reasonable doubt that Barry killed her. A number of things could have happened to Suzanne. I don't believe in a gone girl at all. It's just not her. Although, if she had, the way it happened was perfect. If you're leaving a domestic violence situation, you do not suddenly stop doing the things that you would usually do, and you do just disappear and you don't take anything with you. Although hopefully you've got a stash of cash. But I don't believe Suzanne would do that even to her family of origin, let alone her girls. And even to Barry, she wouldn't. So she's not a gone girl. And what the hell was I saying? What I was saying, I think, was that what has happened with this trial, it is not saying Barry is not guilty. I mean, he hasn't been found not guilty because he hasn't had his chance to go to court and be found not guilty. He is can you hear the bagpipes? Maybe not. It's been dismissed because the prosecution has admitted what's been true all along is that they do not have evidence. They don't have evidence to prove beyond reasonable doubt in a court of law that Barry Morphew murdered Suzanne Morphew. And in a court of law, when the trial is on, that's when Barry Morphew becomes presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond reasonable doubt in that court of law. And Linda Stanley is known all along. I think she just prayed for a miracle the whole time. I think maybe that she is so easily influenced by people that were in her ear that she thought that she had it sewn up, or maybe she is just incapable of processing what is before her and assessing something and making a judgment, a decent judgment, right? You know, when she's worked as a lawyer for probably 15 years or so, maybe more, maybe less, I'm not sure, but about 15 years. I don't believe I've found details of her running a murder case before. I could be wrong. The last case that she was going to appear in court in, she just ran out on her client. She abandoned him. Something else came up, an opportunity for a job. So she took it, and she didn't even find her client, who she was ethically, legally obligated to appear in court for. She just didn't find him another lawyer. She didn't turn up for his court, and it had serious repercussions on his life. Linda Stanley didn't give a rat's ass. That is who you're dealing with. That's who you're dealing with. She can't be trusted to do a job in public office. She doesn't have you in mind when she's making decisions. Linda Stanley thinks about Linda Stanley. And okay, maybe that is how people become successful. They have to be bloody minded. This is why sociopaths are very successful, because they can navigate through things without emotional attachment. So, you know, when people are piping up about Barry Morphew, you know, and their great win, okay, this isn't a win because Suzanne, where's Suzanne? Do you know what happened to her? Does this tell you anything more? We've learned nothing. Colorado has been cost a lot of money. Chaffee County will have to pay through the nose. Now, it's lucky that they are a very rich part of the United States of America. There's a lot of people now, like in the last couple of decades maybe, the people that now go and live there, that can afford to live there, it's now a rich area, okay? And people have homes that they can afford to have there that they don't even live in all year round. They go there in summer, you know, maybe they go south in winter. Snowbirds. So Chaffee County is going to be paying through the nose. Number one, they don't, I think I might have said it, I can't remember. They won't be keeping Barry Morphew's $500,000. I don't believe Barry Morphew has as much money as people keep saying. And anything of Suzanne's, surely that's going to be held in trust for her daughters. Wouldn't it be? I don't know. You know, she's not legally dead in terms of anyone getting their hands on her money. You know, without her remains and without, you know, no one's been convicted of her murder to date. So I think, you know, it's 7 years or something. 7 years has to go by without proof of life before anything like that can happen. And then I think her money will quite rightly go to Mallory and Macy. But I don't think Barry has a lot of cash. I really don't. He needs to support his daughters' lives, their education, where they're going to live. I don't know what Mallory bought. Apparently she owns a home in Gunnison, so that would have taken at least a deposit of a few tens of thousands of dollars. I don't know where that came from. There is that $70,000 that Barry likes to say went missing from the garage. There is the Gofundme money, which, you know, Barry did use some of to buy a quad bike, to pay George, his friend, and to pay for other expenses early on when he did search up and down the mountain. I know he says 200 miles every direction. He means 200 square miles. Okay, I think that's pretty clear. But who knows? Who knows the truth of their finances? I think Barry and Suzanne not only had the Indiana house, which was already in the throes of being sold when Suzanne went missing, which is why Barry needed to get guardian, needed this kind of power of attorney in absentia, or in Susan's absence. It's not that he went and declared her dead, but he needed to be able to take over the legal rights of Suzanne when it came to their property so that they can complete that sale. Of course, he went on to do other things once he obtained that, but I think they actually were a couple that worked together to build their portfolio, their wealth. I think they had land. Maybe Suzanne just had land in Indiana that her family wanted for the growing of marijuana crops, for the cannabis trade. We know that her father, who has passed away now, Gene Mormon, had the company named after him, St. Gene. It's a cannabis company. It's big money. And they, I think, ended up, through this arrangement with Barry, that actually got signed over to the Mormon family from Suzanne's personal estate. They wanted it to grow marijuana crops on. It takes a lot of money to get established into the cannabis industry. There are many steps involved, much certification, much meeting, assessing. Oh, there are so many hoops. Not anyone can just enter this. Let's say you just have some land that has never been used agriculturally, so there are no pesticides in it. You think you can just plant a few crops and make a lot of money out of cannabis. You can't, and that's why there's a lot of shenanigans that go on within this industry. So, people shouldn't waste their energy getting all het up about these things. I mean, you've got to put your passions and your all that love that you have for Susan. I don't personally, it's because I don't know Suzanne and I don't know Barry. I can't, personally give a jot in the same way I would as it's someone I know. And so, what is so emotional about this is just the fact, as I was saying before, a person has just disappeared from this dimension, and people not making a decision to leave this dimension deserve justice. And we also deserve public servants that are worth their salt, that are worth what they receive and benefits from taking office. Now, it's a lot of responsibility, and good on people who do it and who take it on, because they are laying themselves bare for judgment and for inspection, but once they are there, they have such an obligation to do things properly. This case wasn't going to be solved because the police work wasn't there. I've talked about this before. There was bias in the way that the investigation was run, because there was bias in the weight that was given to some things, weights given more to some things and not others, kind of thing. And there were things that didn't seem to be followed up quickly enough. So is that the reason why this has really ended up? It's police work that solve cases. It's not profilers. It's not psychics. It's the police work that allows these cases to proceed in trial, where people are going to prove beyond reasonable doubt because of the good police work. These are the people that need support. They need to be able to do their job, and they need to learn how to do their job. They need to be guided how to do their job. And if they're not being supported in that, or if they are just incompetent or inexperienced, things need to be done to turn that around, because it's police work that solves cases, and it's police work that gets convictions. We know that Suzanne's phone wasn't found, but of course there's information that police get from subpoenaing telecoms businesses, for example, so they can access a lot of data, and they would have seen, even though they didn't have the WhatsApp communications, those, when Suzanne is contacting her lover back in Minneapolis, even if that's just this 30-second call, they were so constant and consistent that they would have known something's up. They would have wanted to investigate. Why are there these calls coming in from this person every day, pretty much every day, several times a day? What happens after that? Why? So why did it take so long to then go? Because they would have seen that. They should have been able to, that's one of the first things they try to do. But I think things take time. Maybe they couldn't get warrants or whatever for that information quickly enough. And so they weren't quick enough to get to Broomfield Holiday Inn Express to get video footage. My question is, though, a wife has disappeared in a puff of smoke from the mountains. You need to act in many different directions, and you need one direction of, line of inquiry needs to be, look, let's just imagine, you imagine Suzanne has just left, you imagine stranger danger, you imagine Barry done it. So what would you do? You would immediately go to the Broomfield Inn. And in the early days, and I'd be talking to you guys, 2 years ago, saying, I thought, okay, yeah, they've gone there. They've gone to the Holiday Inn Express. They've done all of that. It was only 2 weeks later. Somehow police need the right, maybe, the legal right to quickly go and investigate, to activate other officers, like the CBI down in Denver, or, just the local Broomfield police. They need the legal right to quickly go and investigate and to draw footage, and things like that, and to interview people, because I believe it was 2 weeks later that they saw Barry go to the 5. Is that what Chris McDonald was meaning? 5? It means nothing when they're too slow and they haven't followed it up. Did we learn about any refuse searches going on really full swing down in Broomfield once they saw that footage? What did they do to try and follow that trash, right? So what might have been different if Barry did something, and if Barry took something incriminating and put it in those 5 bins? How different would have things been if, they were able to get things out of the refuse? Yeah. Anyway, I've yapped on for long enough. I'm going to run out of time on my phone anyway, and I've got to get moving. I know I've got nothing really to say and add here. I don't want you to think, I'm just, piping up, putting my 2 cents worth in. I just wanted to remind people that there are no winners here, right? You know, the girls are still missing a mother. Barry Morphew will always be under suspicion, whether he's guilty or not, right? The state of Colorado and Chaffee County especially have been really embarrassed, and it's an expensive case for them. This is costing them millions of dollars, and also moving forward, Barry Morphew will be bringing civil suits, I believe, against them. He's suing them. So not only does he get his money back, he might end up with more. And then once he's cleared up the charges for the voting fiasco, etc., then, hey, maybe he will move to an extraditable, non-extraditable country, and then maybe he will have a decent amount of money where you could live like a king, somewhere like Ecuador, right? I don't know where can people live and not get pulled back if, say, Suzanne turns up. So I don't know what happened to Suzanne. She may well have been abducted and killed by someone other than Barry Morphew. It could have been because he wanted it to happen. It could be nothing to do with him, or he could have committed this heinous crime himself. I don't know. But I can tell you what, Linda Stanley failed in making anyone sure about anything, didn't she? She has failed. So thanks for listening, and I'm not sure if I'll have comments on or not. Yeah, because I'm not really up for it. Speak to you later. Bye.